before GOP candidates meet with voters in the early primary states. New evidence showing that Donald
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. We have a great show. One of our own is was interviewed for our show today, and that is the one and only Paul Fleming. We played it earlier today at KPFT 90.1 FM, and we're going to play it again today. But before we get started with that, let me just go ahead and say, hey. Welcome aboard, Eric Hayes. Welcome aboard, Bridge MCP. Welcome aboard, E2247. Welcome aboard, AC Rodriguez. Welcome aboard, AVQ. El Grande, Michael Rudnan. How are my people doing today? Let's see what's up. Hi, AVQ. Eric says, whoa, this intro is really screwed up. What happened? Did it play wrong on your system? Because it played right here. I'm not sure what happened, but anyhow, let's get busy. Wow. Oh, I want to see what somebody said about Mattress Max. Hello, Maywood. Welcome aboard. Well said. A statement on behalf of Mattress Max. The Harris County attorney is betraying half of the voters in this county with his fake outrage over election integrity. The real lack of integrity is his decision, along with Hidalgo and Ellis, to willfully hide election day communications from the people who pay all their salaries. Shameful. We will fight every step of the way to sunshine and honest elections in the city we love. The lawsuit against the state of Texas is simply a way to distract you from the growing evidence Democratic officials cheated on election day. The reason the Texas legislature wants to replace our failed appointed election administrator is because the November election in Harris County was a disaster and Clifford Tatum is not accountable to the voters. So here's a fact. The fact is the election is no different than the election has always been, and there's no cheating or anything in our elections. Again, Mattress Mac is really messing with his credibility. He is wrong. He's a Trumpster. You gotta stop it. Trump, like I've mentioned too often, your support of Trump directly affects your intellect. Your support for Trump and what he represents make you dumber. Even if you're a smart person, it makes you dumber. Because in order to support Trump, you have to disregard reality. In order to support Trump, you have to be a type of person who is easily controlled by people like Trump. I'm sorry. That's just how it is. And everybody who supports Trump proves it day in and day out. I still love you. I have relatives that are Trump supporters. And every relative that I have is a Trump supporter tells me something about their mental state. Not that they're crazy or something, but that they do allow external forces to mess with their capability of thinking, their capability of being able to rationalize reality. It's simple. I mean, this is not difficult for you to go out there and continue with the same mantra about Trump over and over and over again. When mathematically speaking, when speaking, not only mathematical, but being able to see what this guy has accomplished, what he's done. Just one example. You attack Biden, but infrastructure weak all along with Donald Trump, even as he had his people, and the only person that got it was Brother Biden. And I'm not even a big Biden supporter. Trump was a distinct failure. And for some people to continue to attempt to rehabilitate him as crooked as he has always been tells me more about you than it tells me about Trump. It tells me more about you than Trump. I love you. I really do. I am trying to work with you. But the support for Trump and any policy he has in the aggregate says more about you. Let's continue. Bruce Pollard, welcome aboard, my dear brother Bruce. May Wood is in the house as well. Michael Rudden says, hey, Rick Hayes, I'm not shocked about cocaine found in the White House at all. You're talking about D.C., land of drugs and hookers. Exactly. They're going to try to turn this into something that who cares? But let them hyperventilate and talk about coke. I live in Kingwood, Texas. Let me tell you a little story, and then I promise I get to the show. But I live in Kingwood, Texas. Two things. The same bad things that happen around the world, around in the ghettos and the barrios and in Appalachia happens here in Kingwood. The only difference is we know how to keep it quiet. From the cops to everybody else, keep what's going on in this neck of the woods quiet. Several years ago, we had a group of bandits, four bandits. They were robbing stores. They were robbing convenience stores, taking the monies with guns, okay? They were robbing stores. Nobody knew exactly who it was till it was found. It was 4 high school girls from Kingwood. Oh no, what happened? 4 high school girls from Kingwood. From great families and all these kinds of stuff, right? What were they? Common thieves for their drug habits. That's what happened right here in Kingwood. But that's not the only thing. During that story, when they started finding out that, well, these girls who had a drug habit and et cetera, they got a dealer to start talking about what occurs here. Welcome aboard, Yvette Avery Herod. Good afternoon. And what happened is the following. The drug dealer comes and he's being interviewed by the Houston Press. And the Houston drug dealer says, you know what? I sell 2 kilos, listen good. I sell 2 kilos of coke every week in Kingwood. And he said, only half of it goes to the kids. First of all, it's amazing that the kids have that kind of money that they can buy that much coke. But that's what he pointed out. He said, I sell 2 kilos of coke and half of it goes to the kids. Do you know where the other half goes to? Of course you know where the other half goes to. To the parents. This is a place where we have open bottle laws in Texas, open container laws in Texas. At any given day, you can watch women leave the street that has a country club on and watch the glasses or the open drinks in the car. You think a cop would ever stop and do anything about it? Hell no. So let's be clear here. The reality is, more often than not, we're all great, good people. Some of us are gullible. Some of us aren't. Some of us will follow Trump till kingdom comes. Some won't. All right. Bridge MCP says, multiple officials involved in the White House cocaine inquiry now say the bag of powder was found in a cubby near the White House West Executive entrance, not the formal West Wing lobby as was previously reported. Investigators expect to be done with the investigation by Monday, according to sources familiar with the investigation. The inquiry was previously expected to take a couple of weeks. In updating the location of where the cocaine was found, officials said that that area was also heavily trafficked. The cocaine was found in an entrance area between the foyer and the lower level lobby. The sources said the entrance is near where some vehicles like the vice president's limo or SUV park. It is 1 floor below the main West Wing offices and the same floor as the Situation Room and dining area. Forensic work on the cocaine bag continue on Thursday, though officials are setting low expectations that they will be able to identify the person who left the cocaine. Eric says, Egberto, wasn't the machine light on paper and between turn away? Yes, there were some machines that missed paper, but again, they had enough paper based on what I thought the activity was going to be, especially in a city where you could go vote anywhere. So that is what makes this so silly. Houston, in Harris County, our great guy, the control, not the controller, I forgot what not the attorney either, but anyway, he controlled the voting in this state, and he made it possible, along with my friend who is right here out of Kingwood, who was not Secretary of State of the county clerk, good friend of mine, county clerk. She made sure to get us new machines. And not only did we get new machines, we also were able to open up to allow people to go vote wherever they were. So if you're at a job 50 miles away, you could still go vote. You didn't have to go to your precinct location like they want to enslave you into voting in one place. You could go any part of Houston. Now they want to stop that because it gave everybody the freedom to vote. So I just want to mention that, love Eric, but Eric, you're simply wrong. You do not know the law. Anybody who said they ran out of paper in some location, they could have jumped over to another location quickly. It's not like if their particular location ran out of paper, they couldn't go somewhere else. That's what we did. We allowed voting all over the county before election day, and we wanted to do it on election day as well. So stating voter suppression is an outright lie, and assuming that you're a Christian, I think you always call it that, if coming onto our network and lying is horrendously and based on the 10 commandments, you're blowing a commandment. You're blowing a commandment. All right, let's get busy. I'm going to play, I was going to play Pence first, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and play our good friend who is Paul Fleming. You guys have seen Paul Fleming in the room before. He has had issues with multiple sclerosis, and we've interviewed him many years ago. And I wanted sort of like an update and to retell the story. And luckily for us, he accepted. So let's go ahead and listen to our good friend, El Señor Paul Fleming. Welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. Today, I am honored to speak to one of the members of our PDR posse, Paul Fleming. Paul has a story to tell. Paul has a history to tell about healthcare and much more. Paul, thank you so kindly for being a part of the PDR posse, and thank you for giving us this opportunity to hear your story.
Well, thank you for being the kind person that you are, with a blessing of a demeanor that carries you through all trials and tribulations. I just feel like that all of us are put through a test to have a testimony to tell. And I'm proud to be able to still tell my story, because some people with my disease are gone and don't have a story to tell. It's just people that they've left behind have their story.
So Paul, let's go from the beginning. We've all been a part of the healthcare system, but in your case, something occurred to you that made it much more difficult to navigate. Why don't you tell us the genesis, the beginning of what you went through?
Well, at 37, I was really getting into the prime of my career. I was a high-ranking official with a major restaurant chain. And I could actually see the finish line of the type of future that I wanted. And, traveling in, out of town, trying to manage family life, it was difficult to put on my wife of just now 33 years. So all the kudos go to her. But coming home one weekend, trying to help out with the laundry and be the man that, I've chosen to be. I'm doing laundry one Saturday morning, and then it happened. I turned the corner, and my left side just shut off, like someone just turned off a light switch. My breathing pattern changed, and I found myself on the floor looking up at the foyer lights, like, Lord, what is going on? And then I started with my toes, trying to get it to move. And I swear to you, it seemed like it was an hour, but it probably was no more than 3 to 5 minutes of me regaining the use of my leg, my toes first, then my leg, then my hands, then my arm. And so I slowly stood up and did 10 jumping jacks, sprang up both flights of stairs, looked down and said, Lord, I need to schedule a doctor's appointment. Nothing happened the rest of the day. And I didn't say anything to anybody in the house about it. The very next day, doing the exact same thing, it happened again. But this time when I looked up, my youngest son was looking down at me. And I guess he could see the distress on my face because he started screaming for his mother when he saw me struggling to try to get up off the floor. And when he started screaming, that just put me in a panic to hurry up and get off the floor. And by the time my wife made it out of the bedroom, I was halfway up the stairs. I tried to deny what was happening, but my youngest son wouldn't let me off the hook. So I had to admit that something was wrong with Dad, but I would be going to the hospital to find out what's going on. So being the person that he is, he had to examine his father for 30 minutes, and I let him in the bedroom to see me. and then, as a child would do, he slowly just left the room, And it took me 3 doctors. I had to fire 3 doctors before getting to the right one. One doctor told me I just needed to lose weight. Well, had he looked at the chart, I had just lost 40 pounds. So I'm like, okay, you're out. Went to a neurologist. He just did it as I guess the first, like you said, a consultation. When you just sit down, he just talk about it. But he didn't talk about ordering any tests or anything. I'm like, did you not hear what I said to you, sir? I lost the total use of my left side. I was literally paralyzed on the floor. Oh yeah, we'll schedule another appointment and we'll get into all of that. And when I wanted to get into the specifics of what he was planning on doing, he would just ignore me. And then I went to another doctor that just said he just didn't, he couldn't help me. Something in my heart just told me to ask for the youngest doctor in the practice. This young doctor, not only did he order every test of us under the sun, the most amazing part is that he sent the information out of his practice. And, to the Mayo Clinic, to Emory here in Atlanta, and to the Shepherd Center here in Atlanta. And the Shepherd Center here in Atlanta asked that he do a spinal tap. And it was just fortunate enough that the hospital nearby just installed the type of machine that they could just lay me on there, and it was laser guided. So I wouldn't feel any pain, because everybody gave me a nightmare story about going to the doctor's office, he's got a long needle and it's gonna hurt. And I was like, geez, I don't know if I wanted to do that, but I did it because I needed to. But it still took me 3 months to get an appointment with a specialist in the city. So
let me stop you right there, because I want folks to see one thing right here. You had good health insurance with your company then, correct?
Oh, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I shared insurance with my wife's job too, so I was double covered. We double covered each way, which was really, a neat thing to do.
This is important for our audience to realize, because you were double covered with private insurance, and still to see a specialist, you had to wait 3 months. We always talk about the difference between our system and the Canadian system or the British system, is that there are times you have to wait and wait and wait. Well, here you were with a condition that at one point left you paralyzed on the left side. And here in America, with 2 very good private healthcare insurance policies, you still had to wait 3 months.
Had to wait 3 months without any medication.
I wanted our audience, Paul, to hear that, because of the fallacies you get from the right, that somehow miraculously our private system is great. Please continue, my friend.
Just to make a normal appointment, you at least have to wait almost a month in some occasions.
Right.
So it happens in America just like it probably would anywhere else. So the myth, again, that some people in politics want to spread about, other country's healthcare system is just totally false. I mean, you can be braggadocious about something, but make sure that it's factual, because not having the wrong information can have you die. In my case, having the wrong information, had I believed the first doctor who said I just needed to lose weight, I could have just totally lost the use of my left side and not ever got it back. Because
and
in between,
you could have been driving, not knowing that as you were driving.
Absolutely. A part of my job is that I covered the Southeast from North Carolina to Texas. And so each city that I come into, I have to drive to the destinations. So it could have happened, it could have happened that way. And thank goodness that it didn't, you know, and I just went into a panic. Well, I'll let you carry on with it because I know we can't be all day with this interview.
Oh, no. But what I want to do is get now. So we got to the position where you finally got your spinal tap, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And so now they're going to discover what's wrong with you.
Right. So I had the spinal tap, and since the Shepherd Center responded first, he sent the information back. And the proteins in my spine indicated that I had multiple sclerosis. Mm-hmm. And so, again, it took 3 months to get to my specialist. But in between time, I started having seizures. I didn't know what was going on. Again, so I scheduled another doctor's appointment. But just luckily, the very next week, I had an appointment. And me being, a man, I guess, being real ignorant, I didn't go to the emergency room. I just said, I got a doctor's appointment. I'm going to be okay. When you feel young and healthy, it gives you the wrong thoughts about things that you just don't know about. And fortunately enough for me, I made it to that next appointment, and he had to just literally sit me in the hallway while he see other patients until it happened again. And when it happened, he came up and he immediately knew what it was. And so since the first month, since I took when I took the first dosage of that medication, I never had another seizure.
Okay, so
it's the quick reaction by him, and the quickness of the appointment, I think, that really prevented other things from happening to me.
Now, so how has it been now that you've discovered you've had multiple sclerosis at 37? Can I ask you how old you are now, or?
I'm 56. I'll be 57 this year.
So that's almost 20 years ago that you found out you had multiple sclerosis.
Yes, 2004.
2004. How has the pathway with the healthcare system and medicine, the pharmaceutical system, been for you?
Okay, in the very beginning, because I had double coverage through my wife and myself, but I was really afraid to continue with my job, being on airplanes and driving vehicles. So I resigned. And so I lost part of that coverage. And then something happened on my wife's job. And so we had no coverage from one time. But then I got another job, in town because I needed to work and I wanted to work. And I found another job within 2 weeks. So it was no big deal. And I had coverage again. And then that's when the eyebrows raising effect took place. Coming into the very next year, the cost of my medication, the first 30-day supply of my medication cost $15,000. And because I made so much money so fast as a young man, and I think my doctor, and I really believe my doctor told me about other philanthropists out there, I can't say that word correctly, but that provide help for people with medical problems, and those other organizations out there. I sort of glossed over it because I had the money. It's because I really didn't know, because I was covered already. It ain't gonna cost me that much, But when it became $15,000, I'm like, whoa. But I had the money, so I just paid it, and I just paid it. And then after the first 30 days,
you paid $1,000 for that 1 month.
January of each year was $15,000, almost $16,000, and I dropped
it out of pocket.
I paid it out of pocket, and
didn't reimburse.
No, of course not. No, that's just money gone. And then after that, though, then it gradually, because you're on a scale to pay out your deduction. But the first payment did that. But the payment still was $600 a month thereafter for a 30-day supply each month, $600. Eventually, it slid all the way down to $250, $300 by December. But the very next January, you're back at $15,000 again. It started that process all over again. So I guess the first 4 or 5 years I did that, and
it drained you.
My wife being a realtor, which in all of her jobs, bless her heart, she just had it as a hobby, and I didn't care. Everything she wanted to do, I encouraged it. She has she's a real estate broker. She sells life and health insurance. She did reverse mortgages. Anything she thought she wanted to do. So she holds about 4 or 5 Georgia state licenses. And she's like, honey, we're going to have to sell our home. And as if I wasn't depressed enough that we had to move out of our home into an apartment, which my kid never experienced. Parents always think the worst because, you always want the next generation to have more than what you had. Mm-hmm. And so we looked around at several apartments. My kids were so excited. It was the total opposite of how we were feeling in apartments for about 4 years until they kept raising the amount to live in there. When it got just over $1,000, like, whoa, we can be back in a home again. And so my wife, being the magician that she is, we found our way back. But then eventually I had to leave that job because I had a relapse. And my supervisor, all my employees, I told, what my challenges were. But when my supervisor came in, she was being so rude that, she almost fired all my coworkers. I call them coworkers, even though I was the boss, because I never had the boss anymore. I trained you properly on the way you go. And as you continue to train and explain, and then they just did the job. So I just would never allow them to tell friends or family that I'm the boss. This is my coworker. I say in your private time, you can say that, but I'm not your boss. People that I have to manage, yes, I'm your boss. But the people that come in and do the job, we're just coworkers. That's how I view the workplace. And that's why even today, if I go around town and just happen to run into a person, they want to know where I'm working at because they would leave their job to come work for me. Because I will let you be who you are, knowing the goals we have to accomplish. Once we accomplish, relax, go take a smoke break. I don't care, but when it's time to go to work, we all come together as a group and make things happen.
Now, so you went ahead with all, you got to move back into your home, but you had to sell your house because of medical conditions, and you've given the big pharma pretty much $60,000-$70,000 or more than that,
easily
over $100,000 worth.
That's more like
that. But still, after getting this medication, they weren't guaranteeing you anything. You still had a relapse after being on this medication.
I still had a relapse over the now 20 years because you say, I was like, wow, it really is that long. I've probably been on 8 different medications. At one time, I was taking 18 pills a day.
Wow.
And to the point to where it was causing me heart issues. Like it would get extremely hot. I would get extremely hot and my breathing pattern would change. And I could feel my heartbeat slowing down. So much so, and it usually happen I'm by myself in the house, but I don't know what came over me to take all my clothes off. And I hate to say that in the interview, but I had to take my clothes off. And within like 1 minute, it was like nothing ever happened. And up until it happened at a MS event, because I would take different family members around so they would understand what happening to me around town. I would take them to an MS event. And it just so happened my oldest brother and my mother was with me when it happened again. And the man speaking was one of my doctor's interns. And it happened there. And I really thought I was just leaving right there. And I apologized to my mom and my brother, everybody in the room. I could hear them crying as I'm slowly fading away. And with my last breath, I told the doctor to take my shirt off. And he was like, your shirt? And my last nod, that's all I had left. Because I could hear him saying 62 beats a minute, 43 beats a minute, all the way down to like 15 beats a minute, because he had already yelled out to call an ambulance. Right. And sure enough, took my shirt off and I snapped back to it. And I'm looking around, everybody's crying. I'm like, what's wrong? And in my mind, that's when my mom really started bawling. But the ambulance people came in and checked me out. Like, oh, he's fine. He goes, do you want to go with him? Nah, I'll be okay. They let me do an emergency appointment with them since one of the doctors that I go to saw it. And so then they just start running other tests on me. to help me find out. And then I went to the top cardiologist in the state. Nobody could figure it out. And then so I just re-examined it. I re-examined all the medication I was taking, and it was some conflicts. So I just gradually on my own slowly took myself off of medications. To this day, now I only take my MS medication, my neurological pills, because I have some, every now and then, some reactions, some gabapentin, and that's it, and my vitamins. That's it. And
Now,
I've never had a problem again.
Now, so as far as how you're dealing now with the medical system, before the Affordable Care Act, were you able to get insurance, or was that pre-existing condition an issue?
Well, I always knew that I could retire with this disease. And so with that last job, I just applied and was approved the very first time. And people still struggle today having MS of being not approved. And I don't understand why.
For Social Security disability.
Social Security, I'm on SSI. And but still, even being on SSI, I had to reach out to these organizations that would help pay my medical costs, because I would have to literally sell my house. Well, my wife really does have a really good job now, and she's still doing real estate. So we probably would be okay, but it would be really difficult on her. Something that I wouldn't want her to go through, because I told her, if it gets really, really bad, I would leave you, because I wouldn't want you to go through suffering to have 2, 3, 4 jobs, which she already does basically part-time on her own anyway. But I wouldn't want her to have to worry about me in that way. I just love her too much. And I guess she loves me too much too. She's talking about, you fool, you shut up. Don't say that to me. She's like, don't say that to me. I'm gonna do whatever it takes for you, is what she told me.
Paul, I tell you something, and that is what we fight about, right? Hell, yeah. That you had a bad hand. We all get a hand in what life has to offer us, right? And that you got a bad hand, and that your personal economy should reflect your bad hand, that you had no way of choosing. That is what healthcare for all, ensuring that we are all our brother's keepers, ensuring that society is there to support us all. That's what it takes. Absent you being able to get from support from other sources, nobody should have to be hunting for support to stay alive.
If you work in a big corporation that is on the stock market, like a food chain that I was involved in, then you're paying into the system. And I try to explain to people like this that talk about healthcare. I said, in business, especially a restaurant chain, you always have one or more stores that suffers to make a profit, but you always have a few money makers to cover their losses. And so this is how you keep that other store afloat until you either do the proper marketing or hire the right people to increase sales. And sometimes the restaurant is just in the wrong place. And, fortunately enough for me, I had the type of restaurant education to understand that, because I basically started from the ground up in the business. And even after I left being sick, I was still offered to be co-owners of the business, but I was just too afraid of a relapse. And I didn't want to, if I couldn't feel like I contribute 100%, I just didn't want to do it. But I still could have been a very wealthy person even after I got sick, but I didn't want to lie to anyone like everything is okay when I really felt like deep in my heart that it wasn't. So I'm just fortunate that the medication works.
And that is honesty. And you know what? We need a hell of a lot more of that, Paul. So, Paul, we're coming close to the end. One of the reasons I wanted to talk to you about is to let people understand, the amount of tribulations one can go through. You were able to navigate between your private insurance company and getting those companies that give offers. But when some people hear that you had to pay $15,000 for your once a year for your drugs, and then after $600 a month, that should give everybody pause for something that they should know they can have in a good healthcare system. It would be provided in a good healthcare system. The stresses that you have to go through for healthcare. Many people, there's no reason for us to live this way. But, you know,
No,
I hope your
absolutely.
story, along with the stories of others, continue to make a difference, because that is how we're going to change people's minds. Paul Fleming, thank you so kindly having been Politics Done Right.
Thank you for having me, brother. I really appreciate you.
Anyway, folks, I hope you like the story and understand why I'm doing stories like this. If you also have an health situation and how the insurance companies are screwing you, because they all do, please feel free to let me know, and let's go ahead and set up an interview so that the rest of America can actually hear your story. I want to, before I go into the other videos, I want to talk about two things that Eric says, because I think it is important to our right-wing and Republican people who have been lied to by the folks they happen to trust. All right. Hayes says, Egberta, you're going anywhere to vote is ignorant, as you previously argued about giving people water. I never said going different places to vote was ignorant at all. I did complain about not being able to give people water to drink, but I want to tell you something. The reason why many Republicans that I've spoken to believe that somehow voter fraud is allowing people to vote wherever they want to vote is because, again, like I've always told you, Republican orthodoxy, it's predicated on keeping those who follow them ignorant. And what do I mean by that? A lot of people would say, well, he could go to this place number 1 and vote, and then go to place number 2 and vote, and go place number 3 and vote. No, he can't. These systems are designed that everybody has a unique ID, a unique call sign in effect, that computer central database would reject a double voter. And even if there is and I write software, so I know how these databases work. Even if the databases aren't synced because maybe the telecommunications were down that connect the two areas or whatever, even if somebody accidentally was able to vote another time before it's updated in record number 2, by the time we get synchronization, nobody's vote would ever be counted as twice. The second item is drive up and vote. Drive up and vote allows people, the same issues about calling driving up and vote as ignorant is actually fairly silly. My daughter, who had 2 strokes, this time around, when she went to vote, she drove up in the car, and because of her walking inability to walk as she can and stand for a long time in the voting place, she was able to drive up and vote in the car. Excellent ideas. It opens up democracy for everybody to have access to the vote, whether they can come in a wheelchair, whether they can go to anywhere that's close to them that has the vote. It is the most ingenious thing that Harris County did, and it put the fear of God in Republicans, because it actually meant more people would vote, and the franchise of voting was open to everybody. The one thing that Republicans hate the most, and because they don't support policies that support people. They support policies that support a few, and specifically the corporate class. All right, let's see what else I got to go here. I just wanted to correct Eric, because he is absolutely, entirely, absolutely wrong. And not only wrong in the statement, my brother, but also wrong in the sentiment of what these policies are designed to do. And again, to not follow them shows what the Republican Party has done to the mindset of many. All right, sometimes it gets, I'll be honest, I try to be mellow about it, I try to be cool about it, but sometimes it is upsetting to see the degradation that Republican orthodoxy has done to the minds of otherwise very intelligent people. All right, continuing. Other countries with socialized healthcare systems have waiting lines for elective procedures, but they do far better for general healthcare for vast majority of citizens. And again, you're absolutely correct. Our system only works if you literally have a ton of money. And you know what else? The outcomes of a system tells you how good your system is. And our system outcome, from life expectancy to many other factors, we are down in the gutter. life expectancy, all these things. We are so much better. We are so much worse than the rest of the world. AC Rodriguez says, private insurance gets in between you and your doctor at all the time, but right wingers are worried about the government. Again, it's amazing. They don't mind a private institution getting in between you and your doctor, but the government, oh my God. And the government actually doesn't do that, right? Peggy Lopez says, Paul, when I was young and dumb, 40 something, riding the freights, we called you ignoring the medical signs, young and dumb. Come on, leave Paul alone. Michael Rodden says, the last time I went to an emergency room following a car accident, after my primary care physician doesn't deal with no-fault cases, they gave me $975 bill just for talking to a doctor and having a basic checkup, telling me I'll be fine in a year. Liberty Mutual took the bill off my hands, but I always thought that price tag was a ripoff, which it was. No other country with basic checkup at emergency room with zero tests run or anything really costs nearly $1,000. I can only imagine what you are going through. Mine, when I had that high pressure spike, was $5,000 until I threatened to put them on my blog. Then immediately dropped to $2,500, and I decided to pay it off because, well, I was done fighting. All right, so every January you had to put up front payment. $15,000 he had to pay up front every January. And then after that, it cost him $600 per month. Shame. All right, but he says it's national health care in UK. Yeah, UK has national health care, meaning zero. You just walk in with a card. Likewise, in Canada, you just go in with your card and you don't pay for health care. But the Canadian difference is you do pay for drugs, but their drugs are severely regulated, not laissez-faire like it is here in the United States of America. So the drug cost in Canada is a lot cheaper, and that's why Bernie Sanders used to have these buses drive folks to Canada, buy the drugs, and come back here. Monica Coin says, if you could only fix stupid. All right, Monica, I hear you. Let's see what else we got here. Coming down. Robert Davenport, sir. Oh my God, I am in agreement with Eric Hayes. On what subject are you in agreement with Eric Hayes? With stay with your partner. Eric Hayes is a good guy. I love Eric. Eric comes to our Ask Egberto, but sometimes Eric lets the Republicanism, ideological mumbo jumbo mess with his better thinking. But Eric is a great guy. Anybody who came to our Ask Egberto anything on Saturday left that Zoom meeting loving Eric. Every single one of the people who thought Eric was just a crazy bad guy, they left loving Eric. I can tell you that categorically. But sometimes I want to, but anyhow, I love him. Let's see what else we got here. Eric Hayes says, Egberto, this goes for caregivers like Alzheimer's patients, etc. All right, Bruce says, having MS stories similar to mine, diagnosis is hard to get. Yes, it is, Bruce. Let's see what else we got. Eric Hayes says, vote how you want to, so move on with the gaslighting. Eric, stop calling what I'm doing gaslighting. It's not. It's fact. Continuing, let's see what we got here. Bridge MCP says, New York State voting, absentee voting qualification to vote by absentee ballot, absent from your county, or if a resident, New York City, absent from the 5 boroughs on election day, unable to appear on the polls due to temporary permanent illness, is unable to. New York, we have better, for those who are able to vote and identify themselves, we are more, we have better options than New York to vote, which I think it's a shame because New York is a blue state. It's a shame. Jules Ray Winfield. Hey, how you doing, my brother Ray? Says, deregulate the ballot box. I agree. Most of the Republican areas affected with paper shortages, and guess what most vote day is? Not true, but I know you want to believe that lie that they put out there. Mike Cisak says, Maywood, accept your claims of who is wrong and right don't match up with the facts. What we do know is that blue states are shedding population, and that's not completely true. Though they're making a calculated and fiscal decision. They make their money in blue states, and then they go ahead and can get their dollar to go further in red states because the red states don't take care of their people. So the blue state people come into the red state, live like kings, and get served by the original red state people. Wow. that you're putting your people into servitudes, Mike Cisak, but you don't see it. Egberto, even if you have good health insurance, do not forget doctors still judge you by race and gender. Very true. Eric A. Solution, have 1 day to vote and you show up all electronic and instant result. Look at Florida, for example. No, I don't believe that, but that's fine. Egberto Willis, I had 2 heart attacks within 6 weeks and never saw a cardiologist. Always told me it was my stomach. I was a female treated. Look, females, my daughter would tell you that. Females, that's why we need a lot more women doctors. Females get some of the worst treatment in this country because they're not taken seriously at all. All right, let's see what else we got here before I run to. Okay, I got a chance for the next video. All right, this next video is Mike Pence. Folks, Mike Pence, the inner John McCain, has finally emerged from Mike Pence. Mike Pence finally challenged a MAGA person just regurgitating ridiculous crap. Listen to Mike Pence. Let's give Mike Pence some kudos for growing too. Here you go.
If it wasn't for your vote, we would not have Joe Biden in the White House. Do you ever second guess yourself?
No vice president in American history ever asserted the authority that you have been convinced that I had. President Trump was wrong about my authority that day, and he's still wrong.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news. I want you to listen to what he said. That you have been convinced about. This is something that you hear me talk to Eric about, Ledo and Cisak and other ones of our good right-wingers here. Notice how Pence said it. I did not have the authority of which you were convinced of that I had. In other words, he's saying there were people you trusted that lied to you about the power that I had as vice president. And I wish, and what I'm telling Eric and others is many of the things that you put on the screen here are people who have lied to you, who you have trusted to make you put these things on our chat or on our voice lines or whatever. But you know what? Again, you have been lied to. It's not there. Last but not least, we had Donald Trump is running, and finally, the Koch brothers decided that he's too much of a liability. So we won't have that. So while there are times we supported this charlatan, el señor Trump, we are now going after Donald Trump. But will it work? Well, here is the ad that they're putting out against Trump. And Michael Steele has a response that I think we should all heed because he nails it. It'll work for some, but not for most.
As 2024 GOP candidates meet with voters in the early primary states, new evidence showing that Donald Trump's election denials are taking a serious toll on GOP finances. A Reuters analysis showing that the former president's false election claims are leaving swing state Republicans, quote, effectively broke as the party bleeds donors and cash. And the political network financed by a deep-pocketed GOP donor who has vowed to, quote unquote, sink Trump is out with a new digital ad in the early states. Watch this.
Instead of making Biden answer for his reckless progressive agenda, Trump makes the debate about indictments, personal grievances, and the election he lost. Sure, he did some good things as president, but the reality is Republicans lose if Trump is our nominee. Leave Trump's baggage in the past and nominate a new leader to make Biden answer for his failures.
How effective is it when you have someone like Charles Koch putting out an ad like that one, major Republican donor, right, but an anti-Trumper?
Well, what it does is it stirs some anxieties within the donor class, those who are sort of straddling between that world with the Koch brothers or other interests and the Trump community, if you will. So you have that sort of tension. In terms of the base, this ad will mean very little. It will do very little. If nothing else, it solidifies more around Trump. It sets up what a lot of those MAGA heads believe is this sort of anti-establishment, us versus them kind of mindset. So this furthers that thinking, and you'll see it play out as the lead-in says, where candidates out there trying to get cash and support, and it's fractured and spread out, and it's not as concentrated as it once was. And so now they have to work harder to find those dollars.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because in the same respect as we're having this conversation about swing state voters, essentially, or swing state Republicans, I should say, being left effectively broke as they're reporting, right? We are also having conversations about the former president fundraising in record numbers after multiple indictments, right? How do you actually even reconcile this? How do you square this?
Well, his base support of 40-some percent of the Republican Party, those are small dollar donors, and they set up their accounts. Hey, take $50, $100, $250 a month off my credit card. So they just lock and load it in and go. Trump, meanwhile, has other major donors in the party who still support him and still will help fund on the back end a lot of those operations for him. So he's able to do his. The problem, which will be interesting to see, is how are the other candidates running against him doing financially?
Yeah.
Where are they getting their money? How easy it's for them to raise the dollars they need, particularly given the arbitrary and capricious kind of bar that the RNC has said, you need 40,000 individual donors and, all of this other crazy and signing up.
And are they getting behind one? Are they getting behind just one? Are they coalescing behind one?
No, they're not coalescing because ego won't let you coalesce. Right. Ego's not going to let you coalesce because I'm the one. I'm the guy who can beat Trump, or I'm the gal who can beat Trump.
Right.
So there's not this sense that, as they had a chance in 2016, they have a chance right now, because once you do that first debate, it becomes even more problematic, particularly if Trump isn't there.
All right, I got a message for you. That is, he nails it. He nails it. He nails it. The commercials are not going to make much difference for those who are true MAGA. And not only is it not going to make a big difference for those who are true MAGA, but unless they coalesce around some particular candidate, the 40% MAGA that the Republican Party represents cannot beat Trump. Trump cannot be beat if they don't coalesce onto a candidate and work their butts off, because again, Donald Trump owns most of the plurality of the party. Now, let's go ahead to something that Mike Cisak gets, because Mike Cisak is excited that a lot of Californians, New Yorkers, and Illinoisans are leaving these states with their wealth to Texas, Florida, and what's the other state? Texas, Florida, and somewhere else. And he's like, a big win, a big win. It's a big loss. First of all, when we get more people from blue states to move into red states, we do what's so important and dilute the redness of the state, right? Because it's not the people in red from California that's moving, because they're poor. I hate to tell you that, but if you take a look at the demographics of wealth in this country, the people that are there clamoring to the Republican Party, they don't have a lot of mobility. The mobility are with those in the blue states who follow the pattern blue. So when these guys move from New York, from Illinois, from New York, what they're doing to the red states is they're making them bluer. And in a state like Texas, where we are on the cusp of becoming a blue state, it just speeds up that change to Texas being blue. The same for Florida. Florida used to be a blue state, or a swing state, I should say. But as more people move to Florida, as we get the older folk, the old people have skewed Florida, because a lot of old people go down to Florida and move, right? But what happens, of course, is Beto didn't get hammered. People didn't show up to vote. Beto, look at what happened between Cruz and Beto. Different story, 2%. So therefore, it is so important I want Mike Cisak to keep talking about, hey, bring your wealth to Texas and your vote. Because these people were able to build their wealth in blue states, and then they come to red states and they live like kings and queens as the red state original people who don't want to be taxed, tell those people to bring their monies in and we won't tax you. You're going to put more expenses onto our state, but we won't tax you. They just look at the red states as cuckoo. That's all. And in reality, how can you argue that after we have somebody like Mike Cisak saying what he's saying? So come, Californians, move to Texas. Illinoisans, move to Texas. New Yorkers, move to Texas. We'll become blue probably a cycle or two earlier than we expected. But anyhow, folks, thank you so kindly. I still need your support for our trip to Chicago. Please, please, please consider supporting us. politicsdoneright.com/NN23. politicsdoneright.com/NN23 is the link. I just placed it into our feed, and you can and what you get, all the videos that we produce would list all of you who supported the program. We will make sure that all of you that want your name to be on the list. Now, a few people have already asked that they be anonymous. Guess they don't want something out there that showed, that I can understand that. But I mean, those people who wanted their name to be, don't mind me putting their name as a producer, supporter of this, of our trip, meaning all the videos and the interviews that we do with people. You will be there. So please support it. Again, politicsdoneright.com/NN23. And don't forget that to support us in general, meaning, support us however you can. Buy us a coffee a month or something like that. You can find all the ways to support politicsdoneright.com at politicsdoneright.com/support, politicsdoneright.com/support. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? What am I again? Out! Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.
Moving on, our main story tonight concerns healthcare, the field responsible for repairing organs, treating cancer, and removing foreign objects from rectums, which have recently included a plastic turtle, a fork, 6 magic markers, and a cat toy bell, which, credit where it's due, is the most promising advancement in cat hiding places since Under the Dresser. Access to healthcare is a big problem in America, and one of the key reasons is that health insurance is often linked to employment. Why is that the case? Well, because we do it wrong. There is a right way to do it, but we don't do it that way. We do it the wrong way.